What is going on, everybody? My name is Japes and welcome back to the channel, all 19 of you. Thank you so much, guys. I am basically famous. Today we are going over the new Sonic and Shadow Generations game that just came out. I'm going to be talking about everything from the gameplay to the story to the visuals and see how good this Sonic game really is. But first, before we start, I gotta do the classic YouTube stuff. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I will be talking about a bunch of Sonic content, things that I like, tier lists, reviews, all that stuff. Definitely hit the notification button and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Alright, so I think I want to talk about Sonic Generations first. I don't want to talk too much about Sonic Generations just because I already know that everybody has already played this game. So I will keep it very brief and just give my overall thoughts about the game. Okay, so let's just start with the visuals because that is what the selling point of the Sonic Generations portion was that it was an enhanced version of the original that came out in 2011 or 2012. I played that version on the PS3, and it was a great looking game. I mean, the atmospheres and the visuals were incredible already and still look pretty good today. Honestly, it's still one of the best looking Sonic games that has ever come out, and it honestly looks better than a lot of the games that have come out after it. But like I said, I was playing on the PS3 version, and that was locked at, I believe, 30 frames per second, which was totally fine by me at the time. But with the new generation of consoles that have come out, it's really great to play these games at 60 frames per second. I mean, these visuals were absolutely amazing. Just the amount of detail, the lighting, the models, everything was just so good in my opinion. Gameplay is pretty much the same. They didn't really change too much about the base game. So let's get into the changes that they did for Sonic Generations versus the original. For one, the Chow is a new addition. I know a lot of people were expecting the Chow Garden to return. That is not the case. They are simply just collectibles that you can see. And they appear in the hub world, which gives it a little bit more life, I would say. Because the hub world was looking pretty bleak. So the Chow definitely gave it that spark of life that I wanted. I really wish when you got to collect them that you could see them as 3D models. Instead, you kind of just get these pictures, which I thought was a little bit lame. But nonetheless, it was still a pretty good touch. Alright, so now that visuals are out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. So firstly, let's talk about the drop dash. I cannot understand why they did not just give Classic Sonic the drop dash. I mean, they gave him the drop dash, but it is a skill that you have to acquire, and it costs 30 whole points. I think that's crazy. I mean, if anyone should get the drop dash for free, it should be Classic Sonic. They gave it to Modern Sonic, and honestly, I didn't really use it at all because it didn't really give you much of a gameplay boost or a speed boost. There was pretty much no time where you really had to use it, or there was pretty much no time where you even should have used it instead of a boost or a slide or whatever it may be. And honestly, whenever I did the drop dash as Modern Sonic, it was completely by accident, and it would kind of ruin the gameplay. Like, I could just get sent off the ledge by doing a drop dash by accident. It wasn't the greatest thing. I think that they definitely should have put a skill for Modern Sonic where you could toggle it on and off. That would have been much better. And don't let it cost anything, because I think drop dash is like essential for Sonic. Other than that, the gameplay was pretty much exactly the same. Mostly, I would say 90%, that's a good thing. But for the last stage, man, Planet Wisp, you know what I'm talking about. Planet Wisp is still a chore to get through. I was really hoping that they would kind of clean it up a little bit. But, man, being Classic Sonic and having to use the Spike Wisp, sometimes I get turned around by accident. I don't know which way I'm facing. Those gears are still very annoying. Once you get used to it, obviously it becomes a lot better. But I definitely wish that they trimmed some of the fat from the original game. Same goes with the Act 2, the modern version of Planet Wisp. I think that they definitely could have trimmed it a little bit. Where the rockets, oh my goodness, man. These rockets get me every time. If you're the Pink Wisp and you turn into Spike Sonic or the Pink Sonic, you don't get hit by spikes. The spikes don't damage you. So when I'm a rocket, I feel like it's just appropriate that the rockets don't damage you. And man, it could ruin your run because you won't have enough rings at the end to get the S rank. And it's just annoying. Like, there's almost no way to really avoid them. Because if you hold the charge too long for the Rocket Wisp, the animation will just cancel. And then for some platforming, you need to reach the top with the rocket. But the platforms fall out under you. So it's like, okay, I'm getting punished for charging it, but you're also throwing these rockets in my way, which is forcing me to cancel the animation. So it's a little frustrating there. Again, like I said, once you get it down, it becomes a lot better. But I think that this could have definitely been tweaked. The final boss is pretty much the exact same as Sonic Generations. I know that this final boss is infamous. Not much to say about it. It's still pretty bad. I don't think you could even damage him as classic Sonic. I think that's more of just gathering rings, which is kind of a shame. I was kind of hoping that they would rework the final boss, but it looks like it's pretty much the same, which is not that big of a deal. I mean, the whole game in itself is really, really good. So you can't, I'm not going to say you can't complain about it, but it definitely is just like a small thing. It's not something that completely ruins the game. Other than that, let's talk about the story of Sonic Generations. Again, not much has changed here. I know some dialogue has changed, and I know that Ian Flynn has been getting some real big flack for his style of writing, where he pretty much includes like too many references to past Sonic games. It wasn't egregious here like it was in Sonic Frontiers. Like, it was kind of annoying in Sonic Frontiers and multiple playthroughs. Like, the first time you hear, oh, this reminds me of Mystic Ruins, and you're like, oh, you said it, you said that thing. But then it keeps going, and it's like, all right, we can chill with this. They reworked Tails to recognize Chemical Plant. I thought that was great. But the West Side Island and the South Island stuff was a little forced. I'm not dogging on the guy for his sense of writing. I think it's great to include some continuity because that's what we've been wanting. But when it's a little forced like that, it's okay. I'm not saying it's bad. Let me be clear. I'm not saying it's bad, but it could definitely be a little bit better. But overall, Sonic Generations was great. I had a great time with it. So all in all, we'll leave it at Sonic Generations was a fantastic remaster. Not much has changed, but like they say, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So I think Sonic Generations, again, was a great game, and I'm very happy that they finally ported it to next-gen consoles. All right, let's finally talk about the meat and potatoes, Shadow Generations. This game was awesome. I really, really enjoyed Shadow Generations. I played it through and through. So let's go over all of it. All right, just like I did with Sonic Generations, I'm going to be going through the gameplay, the story, the visuals, all of it. So of course, if we're talking about the story, we are going to get into spoiler territory. So if you do not want to see spoilers, or if you haven't played the game yet, click off now or just skip ahead. So let's start with the visuals, because that's what you get hit with right away, even before you start the game. So they give you a little recap called Shadow Story, and it tells you about all the events that happen from Sonic Adventure 2 all the way up into present day. Can I just say, Sonic has never looked this good. These cutscenes are immaculate. They look so high res, such great CGI, such great animation. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, my girlfriend and I played it together, and our jaws dropped the entire time of going over the recap. It was incredible visuals. And the visuals don't stop at just the Shadow Story. In the game, you get some really, really good quality cutscenes. These cutscenes look so good. It almost looks out of place that these cutscenes look this good. I mean, when you're coming from Sonic Forces, Sonic Colors, all of those cutscenes where they're just so stiff looking, this is just an incredible change of pace. Just an incredible boost of quality as well. Okay, so for this portion, I kind of want to go over the story before I go over the gameplay. Where the Sonic Generations portion still doesn't really have a super interactive story or a really in-depth story. Shadow Generations definitely makes up for that. So if you watch Dark Beginnings, which was a 3-episode animation from Sonic Team, just going over the prelude or the prologue to this game, Shadow Generations, you would know that Black Doom is indeed back from Shadow the Hedgehog 2005. However, I do have some gripes to say. There is something that I do want to say. Overall, the game was great, but I feel like there should have been more of a reason to bring back Black Doom. I initially thought that this was going to be the doing of the Time Eater, where he throws back Shadow into the past and then Black Doom is supposed to, he wants to escape. No, it's not the same Black Doom from Shadow the Hedgehog, at least in a time sense. It's not Black Doom from the past, it's Black Doom now. He survived the events of Shadow the Hedgehog 05. That's not a bad thing to bring back a character, have them say, oh, you know what? Actually, we didn't kill them completely. They're still alive. I mean, even Shadow himself has done that. So I'm not going to say that it's bad, but there really wasn't a clear reason for him to conquer the world anymore. I feel like his arms were gone. The Black Comet was gone. He was really confident the whole game that he could defeat Shadow. I was kind of expecting like some sort of plan or master plan. No, he doesn't really do anything like that. It was kind of weird that he came back and he was just like, oh, I'm gonna defeat you, blah blah blah. And it was like, well, you're powering Shadow up. Like, you're like, oh, wow, so you learned a new power. That's really gonna help you, being sarcastic. And well, it did help him. Like, was there supposed to be a plan where like the more he got his powers, the more you could control him? Because he couldn't control him in Shadow the Hedgehog 05. I was assuming that was going to be the case. But it was more just a standard villain where he's like, oh, I'm going to defeat you, and then you end up defeating him. And it's like, okay, well, this is kind of just a rehashing of Shadow the Hedgehog 05. Was there any other reason that you're here? Yeah, but all the other bosses, fantastic. I loved how they had some sort of play into Shadow's past, where you had the Bio-Lizard. Obviously, he was the prototype of Shadow the Hedgehog. Metal Overlord, he copied Shadow's movesets. He knows how to use Chaos Control. And of course, Mephiles, who literally took Shadow's form. So it was really cool to have all the bosses thematically be a part of Shadow's past, or Shadow as the character in general. Another thing that I want to say, I think that this game left more to desire from the relationship of Shadow and Maria. Shadow gets to meet Maria and Gerald Robotnik again. They're finally alive, and it just feels like, it doesn't feel like this is something that Shadow has been burdened with. I know that he doesn't want to alarm Maria and Gerald, saying, oh, you guys are here, you don't know what's going to happen to you guys, whatever. But I was hoping that there was going to be some more emotion. And I have been saying this for so long. I don't know why Sonic Team is so scared of showing emotion with these characters. I feel like we have never seen a character cry. We've never seen a character tell each other that they love them, like, in not like a silly way, more of like the Frontier style where they're really getting personal. I feel like we don't get that enough. And in Shadow Generations, it was exceptionally odd that for someone whose whole life is based off of really regretting the death of the person that he cared most for, he doesn't really have much of a reaction when he finally gets to see her. So I thought that was kind of odd. Other than that, the story is great, though. I mean, those were just nitpicks. It was great to see all the contenders from the past come back, and I thought that this was definitely a much better story than Sonic Generations offered. As for Team Dark, I really, really, really like the characterization for these guys. I mean, you can tell now that Team Dark is more than just an ensemble of a few Sonic characters. Shadow, Rouge, Omega, they all really care for each other. Omega really cares about Shadow's well-being. We got a glimpse in the BioWare Sonic Chronicles of how much Shadow cares about Omega. A lot of people didn't get to play that, so it was really nice to see that out front in this game, where Shadow really cares for Omega. You get this really nice and touching dialogue moment with Rouge and Shadow. When you're gearing up for the final boss, Rouge explains that she really doesn't trust anybody, and she doesn't really bond with people, but for some reason she really cares about Shadow, and I just love that. I love that so much. We need more of that. So it was really cool seeing Team Dark get the appreciation that they definitely deserve, both in Dark Beginnings and Shadow Generations. With all that being said, let's get to the gameplay. This gameplay is absolutely fantastic. The first thing that jumped out at me was that they took the gameplay style of Sonic Frontiers. I feel like Shadow is much better controlling though than Sonic is in Sonic Frontiers. We still have that problem where if you jump and you try to go back, he kind of circles around. Like, I really don't like that. If they got rid of that, this game would play perfectly. He's got new abilities, so let's go over the abilities. The first ability that we're introduced to is Chaos Control, which obviously is an old ability that Shadow has always had, but they implement it into the gameplay. So you can freeze time, and that'll activate some platforms that you can go up to the higher paths with. The timer in-game stops when Shadow uses Chaos Control. So let's say you fall down, you can use Chaos Control to gain back those seconds that you missed. Let's get to the Doom powers. So the Doom powers are something that they advertise, which is more abilities for Shadow. Admittedly, most of these powers Shadow already had. So it's funny. I think Doomwing is really the only exception. I'll get into it. So obviously the Doom Spear is just a Chaos Spear, a little powered up. They don't do damage though. They don't destroy the enemies, which I thought was odd. It kind of doesn't really discern itself too much from baseline Chaos Spear. The only difference is you can throw out multiple at once, whereas in Chaos Spear you can only throw one out, which, I don't know, I feel like it's not that big of a change to implement or advertise it as an entirely new power. That's just my opinion. As we move on, again, there is the Doom Surf. I think Doom Surf is actually the best power in the game. I wish it controlled a little bit better. Sometimes when you're trying to go back or turn around, it kind of gets a little messed up, where you can't really turn on a dime as you would want it to. But in general, I think Doom Surf is probably my favorite power. Okay, so next is the Doom Blast. So Doom Blast lets you attack an enemy, a Black Doom enemy, and it lets you fling them into the air, where Shadow then kicks them away and then teleports to them. Visually, it looks amazing. I wish they did a little bit more with the Doom Blast other than just kicking an enemy and then choosing a path. You can choose between the bottom path or an upwards path. Obviously, you're going to choose the upwards path. That's pretty much always the better route to take. So I wish it was a little bit more in depth, where you had to really aim it, really look around. Again, I'm just nitpicking right here. It really is like a visually amazing power, and I think they implemented it pretty well for what it is, for sure. Now let's talk about the Doom Morph, because this power is easily the hardest to control. I don't know what they were thinking with this, to be honest. You have to swing with the Doom Morph on these, I guess, morph energy balls. Like, if you go into the morph energy balls, you transform into a Doom Morph, and you could slide across the slime, or the Doom Slime. You can chain swings together on these Doom Morph balls, or whatever they're called, to get some great platforming. The thing is, it's really hard to control, just because sometimes when you're locking on, you can hit into something and then the animation cancels, so you just fall. There's also a gimmick where if you're attached to one of these Doom Morph balls and you let go, you're flung in the direction that you're swinging from. So it can lead to some pretty good platforming, but the thing is, it's kind of unreliable. Like, if you even slightly miss the angle that you're supposed to be at, you go flying and you can't recover. And that's the one thing. I think the one change that they should make to the Doom Morph is that why? Why do these Doom Morph balls disappear after you activate them? I don't get that. That makes it really annoying and tedious to play with, because if you even miss it slightly, there's no chance of redemption. And maybe that was the point, but I think that the lost time for correcting yourself is enough of a punishment for it to just stay. I don't think that there is any real reason for the Doom Morph balls to disappear. And I also think that you should be able to use Doom Morph when you're in slime. I don't think it should be something that you need to run into the Doom Morph ball to activate. I think it should work functionally pretty much identical to the Doom Surf, where once you land to the Doom Goop or whatever it's called, you can instantly transform into the Doom Morph and you can continue on. Because once you get stuck, if you're landing and you're just running through the Doom Goop or whatever it's called, you don't move at all. It's pretty much full stop. Yes, you can jump to get some speed, but once it stops you, it takes away all of your momentum. So I really wish that they tweaked it, and I think that the Doom Morph is definitely the weakest of the Doom abilities that Shadow has for this game. Lastly, let's talk about Doom Wings. Doom Wings are great, and I think it functionally serves like the super form of Shadow. So the Doom Wings, they let you fly continuously as long as you have ring energy and boost. You could just skip entire sections of levels with the Doom Wings, and that's great. That's really cool. And they're not super easy to like just fly over. I'm saying just fly over the stages like it's not like you're not playing, but you have to dodge things, you have to get rings to make sure that you have enough flight. So it's definitely engaging when you're just skipping the levels or skipping certain sections of the levels. Also, when you're in Doom Wings, you are invincible, you don't take damage, but I think the damage lowers your ring count, if I'm not mistaken. I may be just making that up, but I think that's a good way to kind of limit the power because they are kind of OP and broken. So Doom Wings definitely get an A+. Also, he looks phenomenal with Doom Wings. One thing that I am a little bit disappointed in is that there was no super form for Shadow in the final boss. I don't think that the wings really equate to having 7 Chaos Emeralds with infinite power. It was just so weird fighting Neo Devil Doom, a more powerful version of Devil Doom, as just baseline Shadow the Hedgehog. It kind of just, I don't know, it just didn't really look right, didn't feel right. It kind of made Devil Doom look like a chump, like a pushover. When you needed the 7 Chaos Emeralds to defeat an enemy, it kind of was a big deal. I would have really liked to see some sort of new form for Shadow, even if you couldn't get the Chaos Emeralds because Sonic had them for Sonic Generations. I think a complete doomed Shadow would have been so peak. I think I set myself up for disappointment with that just because I envisioned something like the symbiote from Spider-Man, just a fully encompassed Shadow in Black Doom power, just going crazy on Devil Doom. That would have been so peak. Oh my goodness. Bro, let me write these games. Add me to the team, Sonic team. Add me to the team, bro. I will not let you down. I'm telling you. All in all, the Doom powers worked pretty well. And it was a very, very good addition because, honestly, they didn't really have to put that in the game. And they went the extra mile to do that and add more to Shadow's character, which I really, really appreciate. Alright, so another thing I want to talk about is the hub world, because they brought this back. The original idea from Sonic Generations. In Sonic Generations, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was kind of just get to a mission, get to a stage kind of thing. Very, very basic in form. But in Shadow Generations, they really rehauled it. They kind of made it play like Sonic Frontiers, where you do a bunch of mini Sonic levels, if you want to say, where you're platforming to get to a chest that may have a certain item in it. I really, really like this idea, and I enjoyed it a lot in this game. I think it really worked in Sonic Frontiers, and the fact that they brought it back for this game shows that they kind of want to take this into the new age of Sonic, where they are making this open world where Sonic and Shadow can traverse, discover secrets, etc. I think the white world works amazingly. I really enjoyed playing around in this kind of like a sandbox. And again, like I said, it's pretty much like Frontiers, other than the fact that I feel like some of the platforming was a little shorter, which is definitely fine. Some of them are a lot longer. There's even a Frontiers inspired section above the Chaos Island. So when Shadow presses on the switches, you see those iconic floating platforms that everyone loves to talk about. And it was really cool. I really, really enjoyed that concept. One thing I will say though is collecting those spare parts for the rocket for Orbot and Cubot. Bro, why? Like, it's one thing if you want me to collect 80 pieces for an actual good reward, but the reward that you get is just like an art piece that you can get out of a chest. It is so underwhelming. I thought it would be maybe like an extra little mission or a little stage. No, it's just an art piece. Like, why would you make me waste my time? That's ridiculous. I mean, you do get a trophy out of it. If you want to platinum the game, you're gonna have to do it, which is kind of just I don't know. That just doesn't sit right with me. I really feel like they should have a bigger reward. Yeah, I feel like I sound like I'm being so negative on this game. It really is a good game, I promise. It's just the little things that kind of stick out to me when I'm playing the game. When this game is so great, those little things kind of jump out. But again, it's nothing that's game breaking. Like, you don't have to do it if you don't want the platinum. But yeah, just be warned that that's all you get. So don't expect anything crazy. Okay, let's get to the last thing that I want to talk about in Shadow Generations, which is the levels themselves. These levels go so stupid. It's not even funny. These are such good levels. There are so many different pathways that you can take. When I talk about good Sonic levels, I always talk about the flow state and having Sonic keep going. And that is exactly what these stages do. When you're implementing Chaos Control, Chaos Spear, and you're just flowing, like just knowing every button to press, there is nothing like that. And they nail it in these stages. Even with the Frontier style gameplay, it doesn't really feel like cyberspace. It feels like a boost game, like a real boost game, like Unleashed and base Sonic Generations. I was really worried once I heard that, oh, Shadow Generations is gonna play like Frontier, is gonna have the same style. Oh, I was like, oh no, maybe this might not work well. Oh man, I was wrong, for sure. Space Colony Arc Act 1 is so good. These are some of the best stages in Sonic's history. Like, no joke. So Act 1 really provides the 3D level design that you would expect from any modern Sonic game. And then the Act 2 is more of a 2D, 2.5D kind of deal where you're doing a side scroll or like a classic Sonic game. And I think they work really well. Even the Act 2, the 2D side scrollers, they work functionally so well. Again, that flow state where you're just pressing buttons, you're looking at the upper pathways, going on dash rings, using Chaos Control. All of that works so well in both Act 1 and Act 2. My favorite stages of the game, they have got to be Space Colony Act 1 with all the different pathways, the beautiful, beautiful backdrop of the Space Colony Arc, and space. Oh my goodness. This game looks so good. And then my all-time favorite stage in the game has got to be Kingdom Valley Act 1. My god, this level is so beautiful. Again, I'm talking about flow state so much, but flow state has never been this well done in the Sonic level since Unleashed. And this one has nailed that. When you're going on the Eagle, when you're riding the wind paths, when you're out in the open courtyard and you're using Doom Surf to ride through the moat, and of course when you're going through the parted seas at the end, when it's the Mach Speed section for Sonic in Sonic the Hedgehog 06, you get to finally see that. My one gripe with it is that we didn't get to run on the water. Actually, I don't know. Maybe there is a pathway where you do get to run on the water. I'm not sure. If there is, that's awesome. It's perfect in every single way. And I'm just dumb. And I haven't discovered it yet. But, oh my goodness, this level goes crazy. What more can I say about this game? This game was absolutely worth the price tag. This game was $50 or $60 if you got the deluxe edition, which I'm so happy about because a lot of us have already played the base Sonic Generations game. They could have easily put this for a full price game and they chose not to, especially with all the money they've put in for the animation, all the stages that they put in this game. This is just one of the best Sonic games to come out. I am so happy that Sonic has finally hit its stride. I mean, they've hit their stride since Sonic Frontiers, I would argue. Maybe since Sonic Movie 2, I think that's when Sonic really was gaining its foot back. But man, I am so happy that they continually have been putting out amazing games. I could not be happier. And Sonic Shadow Generations is definitely one of the best things that they've done so far. And yeah, I'm just really happy to finally be back and talking about Sonic, because it's been so long since we've gotten such great content. And what more can I say? It's a great game. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, share, definitely comment on what you think about the game. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. I will be responding to every single one of you guys, every 19 subscribers that I have. It is something, okay? It's something. But again, like I said, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.